This is Learning with Coach History. This is the fourth and final lesson in South Asia, Sri Lanka, and the Maldives. Vocab, Sinhalese, Tamils, and Sultan. In the 6th century BC, people from northern India crossed the narrow strait separating India from Sri Lanka. These people became the Sinhalese. They absorbed the island's native inhabitants. They adapted Buddhism and created an advanced civilization. They built sophisticated irrigation systems that allowed farming on arid land. In the 4th century AD, another group of Indians began to arrive in Sri Lanka. These were the Tamils. They were Dravidian Hindus from southern India. They brought a different culture and language to Sri Lanka. The Tamils settled in the northern end of the island. The Sinhalese moved further south. Europeans began to colonize Sri Lanka in the 1500s. First came the Portuguese, then the Dutch. The British took control of the island in 1796. They called it Ceylon. Ceylon gained independence in 1948. In 1972, it adopted a new constitution and renamed itself the Republic of Sri Lanka. After independence, tension grew between the Sinhalese and Tamil populations. The Tamils were in the minority. They claimed that the Sinhalese discriminated against them. They called for their own independent state. In the 1880s, civil war broke out. Violence claimed many lives before the Tamils were defeated in 2009. The Maldives were settled by Buddhists and Hindus from Sri Lanka and India. This occurred sometime around the 6th century BC. Arab traders later made frequent visits. By the 12th century AD, the population had converted to Islam. 6 dynasties of Muslim rulers, or sultans, governed the Maldives after that. In 1968, the Maldives declared itself a republic. It is now headed by an elected president. In Sri Lanka, Sinhalese Buddhists make up about 70% of the population. Tamil Hindus are about 13%. Almost 10% of the people are Muslims. They are descended from early Arab traders. There's also a small community of European Christians. They are known as the Burghers. Most Sinhalese live in the southern, western, or central parts of the country. The Tamils are concentrated in the northern Jaffna Peninsula, Jaffna. Much fighting took place there. Another group of Tamils live in the central highlands. These people are the descendants of Indian migrants who came to work on British plantations in the 1800s. Muslims are found mainly in the eastern lowlands. The capital city, Colombo, is a busy urban center, but most Sri Lankans continue to live in smaller towns and villages. In the Maldives, most of the people are descendants from the early Sinhalese and Dravidian inhabitants. They mixed with Arab, Southeastern Asian, and Chinese traders over the centuries. Religion plays a key role in the culture of Sri Lanka. Buddhists and Hindu temples, Muslim mosques, and Christian churches dot the landscape. Art and literature are strongly influenced by these religious traditions. Folk dancing is a notable cultural tradition on the island. Muslim customs have a strong influence in the Maldives. Islam is the state religion. No other religions are allowed. One of the highlights of Maldivian culture is Bodu Buru, Boduberu, or Big Drum. This is a popular tradition of music and dance based on drumming. The Maldives and Sri Lanka face tough economic challenges. However, each country has made good use of its assets to promote economic growth. Today, Sri Lanka and the Maldives have a higher per capita income, have the highest per capita income in South Asia. Sri Lanka's economy is based on agriculture, mainly rice farming. Sri Lanka also has large areas devoted to plantation agriculture. These large farms produce crops such as tea, rubber, and coconuts for export. Sri Lanka is one of the world's leading tea producing countries. Manufacturing is increasing, but other sectors of the economy are less important. Deforestation has damaged the timber industry. The fishing and mining industries are relatively small. The one exception is gem mining. Sri Lanka is famous for sapphires, rubies, and topaz. In the Maldives, farming is limited by the lack of land. Most food has to be imported. Fishing for tuna, mackerel, and sharks has long been the main economic activity. However, tourism is now the main economic activity. The island's beautiful beaches, coral reefs, and marine life draw visitors from around the world. Until the 1980s, tourism was also growing in Sri Lanka